Hey, all right. Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, good night. I don't know, whatever time of the day it is, wherever you're at. But today, my name is Wes from Interactive English, and today I want to go over a fun pronunciation lesson with you about ed endings, most specifically talking about verbs, regular verbs that are ending with the ed. So if you have any questions or comments, write them in the chat and we will try to answer them. All right, so the first thing that you might be wondering is why the heck should I care about these two little letters? Well, let me tell you, the first reason is because, well, we think you guys are really cool. We want you to stay looking cool when you're speaking English, and we don't want you to make these simple little mistakes where people are going to be like, wait, what did they just say? And this is something that is applicable to all English learners, whether you are a beginner learner, an intermediate learner, or an advanced learner. This is, when it comes to ed endings, these are mistakes that I hear people make all the time. And they're not like, they're not like huge mistakes that people are like, well, I just don't understand you. It's more just small things that impede people's fluency. And I know that people want to improve their pronunciation, they might want to reduce their accent a little. But the most important thing is that we communicate and communicate clearly, and learning these ed endings and knowing how to use them and what the correct pronunciation is just going to help you become a more capable and confident speaker and improve your overall fluency. So again, if you're just joining us right now, please write any questions, comments in the chat. I'm going to go over a few different slides with you, if you will. I want to talk to you about the rules for ed endings because, we must have rules. And then I'm going to show you some sentences. We'll read those, and then we're going to do a practice. And you will need to engage and write your answers in the comments. And then at the end of the video, or the end of the lesson, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can take what we've learned here today and continue practicing on your own. So we're going to talk about the pronunciation of these ed endings. And because, let's see, let me go over again and give you an example of why this is important. So for example, I remember, like I said, it's important for all students. I remember teaching a level of advanced students. And when you go over this information, we would go over this information together and, talk about it, practice it, and everybody would do a really good job because we're focusing on the pronunciation. The challenge is when you're just having a normal, natural, free-flowing conversation and you're not trying to think about the rules of pronunciation, and you might make small mistakes. So for example, I remember speaking to somebody and they would say, last night I walked to the store. And I understood what they were saying, but again, you kind of did that double take. We were like, wait a second, did they just say walked? It's just mispronouncing that ed ending, which impedes fluency. So let's get the ball rolling and begin. Again, I know I'm going to reiterate, if you're just joining us, stick around. We're talking about ed endings. Write any questions you have in the comments. And if you guys haven't already and you're here and you found us, please subscribe to our channel. And also, a huge favor, if you guys will, you can share this video with your friends, your family, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your grandparents. Who knows? Maybe your grandparents are on YouTube. Who knows? So let's start out and talk about the rules of these ed endings. Okay? So here we have a list of rules about how to determine and decide, what type of ed ending you should use, as well as the different sounds they should make. So when you're talking about these regular verbs in the simple past, because they all end with ed, you need to think about the final sound of the word, more specifically, the final consonant sound of the word. Forget about spelling. It has nothing to do with spelling. It's more about that final sound. And that's going to help you determine the sound of the ED. All right, is it going to have that T sound, that t, the D sound, the d, or the id sound? And if you're wondering, again, you can look right here to find all that information that I am talking about. So it is all about the final sound of that word. And then once you identify the final sound, you'll know, okay, the ED is going to have the T, the D, or the id. So the first thing that we need to do is determine if that final sound is voiceless or if it's voiced. Now, some of you may be asking yourselves, well, what does it mean, voiceless and voiced? And that is a good question. So let's start and look at voiceless. So voiceless means that there is no vibration in the vocal cords. And your vocal cords are right here, okay? That the sound is coming, through your vocal cords and then out your mouth, and there is no vibration back and forth. So one way to determine about whether there's a vibration or not is just to take, your two fingers, put them right here on your vocal cords, and then if you're just talking, maybe you're reading out loud, saying anything, you'll be able to feel a difference between some of the sounds you're making and the other sounds, whether they're voiceless and you can't feel anything, or they are voiced and you can feel that vibration. So voiceless means there's no vibration. Some of the letters that make this sound are the ones that I have, again, right there, the letters P. If you did that p sound, you can put your fingers there and make the sound p, and you're not going to feel a vibration. The letters K, k, F, S, S, and X, the x, 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 that sound. Those are all voiceless sounds that do not vibrate in your vocal cords. So if you know that that is the final sound of the word and it is voiceless, then that ED is going to have the T sound, okay? The ED is going to have the T sound. So, for example, I gave you some words down there below, as well as that beautiful, lovely drawing right there, showing that the sound is traveling up right through your mouth, no vibration. So let's look at it, like help, all right? The last sound, the final sound is that P sound, help. So we know it's going to have the T, and we can pronounce it helped, helped, all right? I'm going to emphasize it a little and exaggerate it so you guys can hear. Helped. The next one, walk. K. That K sound, k. It's voiceless. Walked. All right, walked. Next one, laugh. That GH has the F sound, again, which is voiceless. Laughed. 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 And then the last one, ooh, kiss. All right, S, voiceless. Kissed. All right, kissed. So we know that these verbs that I just show you, helped, walked, laughed, kissed, they are all, the final sound is voiceless, so the ED has that T sound. All right, so now, again, if you're just joining us or you're kind of tuning in, hanging out, we are working on voiced and voiceless sounds. So if you have any questions, write them in the chat, and then we're going to do a practice. So we just talked about voiceless sounds, and that, again, has the T sound. The ED is going to have that T sound. Now, if we're talking about voiced sounds, right here, it's just the opposite, all right? In the vocal cords, right here, you're going to feel that vibration with these sounds. Again, look at that beautiful, lovely picture that I put together down on the bottom there. You can see the sound vibrating back and forth. And this vibration in the vocal cords, you can feel it. If you put your fingers right here, and we're going to look at those letters right here and make those sounds, and you'll feel it. So B is a voiced sound. If you have b, 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 G, 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 L, l. So you can feel the difference if you have like the L sound, l, you can feel that vibration, l, and you compare it to the S, which is voiceless, l, s, l, s. Sounds a little crazy, but you can really feel the difference. These other letters, N, M, those are also sounds that are voiced. All right. R, V, all right, V, 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 and Z, Z. These are voice sounds, which means if they are voice, then the ED is going to have the D sound, okay? So voiceless, the T sound, t, voiced, the D sound. So let's look at these examples. So that first verb is, rub, rubbed, all right? B is the B, it's voiced, rubbed. All right. Call, called. All right. L is a voice sound, so we use the D for the ED. Called. Cleaned. Loved. All right. I'll say those again. Rubbed, called, cleaned, loved. Again, we're talking about ED sounds. Another thing that will help you guys practice, if you want to turn this into another interactive activity, you can just repeat the words that I'm saying. So this becomes more shadowing. You're listening to my pronunciation and then trying to say it exactly as I do. All right, rubbed, called, cleaned, loved. All right, you should hear that D sound at the end of those regular verbs. Okay, so we've talked about, voiceless, which has the T sound at the end, and voiced, which has the D sound. Okay, there is one more sound that it can make. All right, and that is this one, which is the id sound. And this makes perfect sense as to why we have another final sound. All right, because when the final sound is a T or D, it's going to have this id sound, all right? And the reason is because we're already using that T and D sound for voiceless and voiced verbs, all right? So if we can't have two T sounds in a row. So for example, want, it ends with a T. So the T sound, so it's gonna have that id, wanted. We can't have the wanted, all right, because T is a voiceless sound. Same with need, d, d, d. It's voiced. You can't have those two D sounds in a row, the needed, all right? So that is why if it ends with a T or D sound, it's going to have the id, which is basically going to add one more syllable to the word. And a syllable is just a unit of sound. So all of these, like want, all right, it's one syllable. And we know this, we can put our finger, want. However many times your chin touches your hand, that's a syllable, that's a unit of sound. So wanted, it adds an additional syllable, that id, wanted. And this is actually a common thing. This is where I would hear a lot of learners make a mistake. They'll add an id to either a voiceless or voice sound when it's not needed. And it's only necessary with the T or the D. So we have these sounds. Again, you can repeat after me. Wanted, needed, waited, blended, and ended. We can say these even faster. Wanted, needed, waited, blended, ended. All right, you can hear that id. Wanted, needed, blended, wanted, needed, waited, blended, ended. All right, all of those, that id final sound, because the verb's final sound is either a T or a D. So we are, just to review, because we're talking about the ed endings, mostly with, these are all simple past regular verbs. We have the voiceless, which is the T sound, all right? Helped, walked, laughed, kissed, all right? If the final sound is voiced, where the ED will have the D sound, rubbed, called, cleaned, loved. And if the final sound ends with either T or D, then it's going to have the id sound. Wanted, needed, waited, blended, ended. Okay, so those are the rules for determining the ED pronunciation. And I think they're pretty kind of straightforward. It's really just knowing the difference between voiced and voiceless, and we can use our vocal cords to decide that. So let's look at some sentences, because this is, like I said before, this is where I think a lot of learners have difficulty, whereas we can do a practice and you're learning this and you know, oh, okay, I understand the rules. That makes sense. It's fine. I can listen for it and then I can say it. The difficulty comes when you are actually, again, just having that normal conversation and you're not even thinking about pronunciation rules. So I wanted to practice a little with these sentences. So I have 4 sentences for you about that picture right here, the beautiful sunset. Ah, all right. So these sentences are about the picture, and I want you to look at the first one, which is up there, okay? And there are 3 ED words that I've highlighted in blue. I want you to think about their ending, and then I'm going to read the sentence, and you can listen for it, and then we'll kind of dissect each one and talk about them a little bit. So think about the final sound of those words after the rules that we just went over, and think about the sounds, all right? And again, if you're just joining us, that's okay. We're talking about ED endings, and you can listen for that final sound. It's either going to have a T sound, a D sound, or an id sound, okay? So the first verbs, all right, I'll read the sentence so you can hear me. We waited and watched as the sun descended. We waited and watched as the sun descended. So the first one, wait, it has that T sound, so we know that it's going to, the ED is going to be an id, waited, we waited. And watched, ch, 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 it's voiceless. So the ED is going to sound like a T, watched. We waited and watched as the sun descended. Again, the D is the final sound, so it's going to have the id at the end, descended. All right, we waited and watched as the sun descended. The next sentence, what do you guys think? All right, there are 3 more words. I want you to just think about the final sound, and then, you know, what is the, what's the ED sound? What sound is it going to make? All right, let me read it. I'll read it for you, then you can listen. All right, make sure you've identified them correctly. We marveled as it splashed into the ocean and then disappeared. We marveled as it splashed into the ocean and then disappeared. So the first word, marvel, it's voiced, the L sound, so we use a D, marveled. We marveled as it splashed. That sh is voiceless, so we use the T sound. We marveled as it splashed into the ocean and then disappeared with the D, because R is the final sound, and that is, I can't hear you, so yeah, voiced. It's a voice sound, all right? And then disappeared, all right? Next sentence, right here is where we are at. We're talking about this sentence. 2 words. One of them is a verb. The other is an adjective. It's an ED adjective. Follows the same rules. With adjectives, there are a few exceptions, which we will not get into right now, but look at those words, all right, and think, what is the ending, all right? Listen to me say it. We enjoyed the view, and we were utterly amazed. We enjoyed the view, and we were utterly amazed. So the first word, enjoy, and this is something that I didn't mention before, oi, is it's a vowel sound. So if the word ends in a vowel sound, then the ED is going to have a D sound, enjoyed. We enjoyed the view and were utterly amazed. The z is voiced, so it is the D sound. We enjoyed the view and we were utterly amazed. Again, if you guys have any questions, just write them in the comments part of it. All right. And if you're just joining us, welcome, welcome. We're going to do a practice here in a second with ed adjective or ed verbs, actually. So let's look at the last sentence. All right, right here, last sentence. How would you say those two verbs? All right, how are you going to pronounce the ed? All right, the day ended and we traveled home. Okay, end, it ends with the D sound. So we're going to have the id, ended, ended. The day ended and we traveled, L is voiced. We traveled home. So again, that's going to have the D, traveled. All right, so that's a quick practice with those sentences. And, you know, it's a good way to continue practicing to not only identify the sounds, but just keep practice saying them. All right. So before we do our practice, I'm going to give you some words just to review. It really depends on whether it's voiced or voiceless, that final sound. If it's voiceless, it's going to have the T sound. And remember, how do we determine that? If there's vibration in the vocal cords. No vibration, it's voiceless and the T sound. If there is a vibration, back and forth, b, z, those sounds, we're going to use the D for the ed. And if the final sound is a T or a D sound, then we're going to add that extra syllable, that id, wanted, needed, waited, blended, ended. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I'm going to give you a word, okay? And what I want you to do is I'm going to give you a word, I'm going to say it. So this is a listening activity. And I want you to listen for the final sound. And in the comments, I want you to write, is it a T, a D, or an id sound? Which sound are you hearing with these words? Okay, so the first one, let's do, is this. Okay, I'll say the word, and then I want you to write the answer in the comment. Exercised. All right, I'll say it again a few times. Exercised. Yesterday we exercised and we went running alongside the river. We exercised. Okay, listen to that last sound. All right, is it T, D, or id? Exercised. Write them in the comments. Okay, which sound do you hear? Exercised. All right, hopefully, remember exercised, even though it's spelled with an S, it's the Z sound, that Z, Z, Z. It's voiced. So because of that, exercised, you should have said D. D is the answer, all right? Exercised. All right, let's look at another one. Another one that we have for you right here. Let's see. This word. All right, accepted. What sound do you hear when I say this word? Accepted. Is that ed? Does it have the T, the D, or the id sound? Remember, you want to identify the word's final sound. Accept. What's the final sound? It is a T. So again, if it's a T sound, then the ed, accepted, accepted, will have that id sound. That is what you should write in the comments. This is the answer, accepted. All right, let's look at another one. All right. How about this word? All right. What is the final sound? Danced. Okay. Danced. What is the final sound? Danced that you hear? Danced. All right. The ed sound, because again, dance It ends at that S sound, that s. It's voiceless. So danced, can you hear it? It ends with this sound, that T. All right? Danced. All right? Last night, we danced all night. Yuan and I danced at the club. Not true. We watched a movie. Again, with the T sound, watched. All right? The next word, let's try this one. How about hoped? All right, hoped. What is the final sound you hear? T, D, or id? Remember again, the rules for this, you have to think of the final sound. Don't worry about spelling. Don't you see that, hoped. All right. It ends with the P sound, which is voiceless. So the P sound is voiceless, which means you should, in the comments, write T. Hoped. All right? Hoped. Again, it'll help if you're somewhere and you want to practice. Just repeat the words after me. Hoped. Hoped. All right? It's going to help you remember this stuff next time you're speaking or reading, and you'll start to become more proficient. So next one, all right. I'm going to try and give you a more difficult one. So look at this word. All right. What is the final sound? Tried. Tried. Remember I told you that try, that I is the long I sound. It's a vowel sound. If it's a vowel sound, all right, the ED is going to sound like tried. All right, tried. Whoops, not the E, the D. All right, tried. All right, this one, this regular verb in the simple past has the D sound at the end. Tried. Okay, let's do another one. How about this word? All right. In the comments, I want you to write, is it T, D, or id? Visited. Visited. In the comments, write, what is the final E sound? Visited. Do you hear is the ED, do you hear the T sound, the D sound, or the id? Visited. Visited. All right. Visited. The final sound of the word is the T. Visit. Remember, if it ends with the T or D sound, we're going to use the id. So, boom. Visited. Okay? Visited. It has that extra syllable at the end. All right, next one, let's do this one. Okay. Whispered. Whispered. What is the final sound that you hear? Write it in the comments, because we want to make this interactive, get some practice in there. So this is good listening practice for you guys. You want good speaking practice? Say the words after me. Say them out loud. I don't care where you're at. Whispered. Whispered. So again, whisper, ends with the r. It's voiced. So it's going to end whispered. You should write D. Whispered. All right. The ED has that D sound. Whispered. Whispered. Okay. Next one. How about this one? There we go. Switch it up. Don't let that Y fool you. Say the word, all right? Say it without the ED, and then that'll help you identify that final sound. Stay. Now, how do you say it in the past? Does the ED have the T, the D, or the id? Write it in the comments. Stayed. I'll say it. Stayed. 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 Yesterday, we stayed over at a friend's house. We stayed. it ends with a vowel sound, that A, that long A. And remember, that's a rule. If it ends with that vowel sound, it's going to have, the ED is going to have the D sound. Stayed. Okay? Stayed. Next one, let's do some more. Next one I'm going to give you, So this word, land, all right, you know, if you're flying in an airplane, you're having a conversation, you're using it in the past, you're going to say this word, landed. 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 We landed at 5 o'clock. We landed yesterday at 5 o'clock. That's when our plane landed. Is it the T, the D, or the id? Don't be shy. Write them in the comments. If you're just joining us, we're doing a little practice right here with the ED, the final ED sound. And I want you to write, do you hear that? Is that final sound, is it a T, D, or id? Landed. Okay, landed. For this word, you should write the id. Landed. Land ends with the D sound, so we're going to add that id at the end. Landed. Landed. Our plane landed at 5 o'clock. Next one, and this is like one, I don't know why, what it is about this one. I commonly hear it mispronounced. This is a verb that people like to throw the wrong end on it. Walked, all right? Walked. It's not walked. No. Walked. All right? We walked to the store. We walked to the mall. We walked downtown. We walked to the movies. What is the final sound you hear? Write it in the comments. Walked. All right? You should write final sound, T sound. Walked. All right? Walked, walked, walked. You try saying it. Walked, 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 walked. All right? You're going to say that T sound at the end. Let's do a few more. How about, let's do dried. Dried. Which sound do you hear at the end? Write it in the comments. Do it. Do it. Again, you can even practice, if you're watching this video later on, still write the answers in the comments. Just keep commenting. Use it like it's your own chalkboard or something. And just keep writing the answers and practicing, because again, the idea for this is for not only for you to listen to what I'm saying, is to try to produce the language and actually become engaged in what's happening. So dried. What is the final sound? Is it T, D, or id? All right, dried. Remember, it ends with I, that I sound, dry, which is a vowel sound, which means that the final sound is a D sound. All right. Again, it's not that id, we're not adding an additional syllable, it's still one syllable, dried, dried, all right? It's just that D sound at the end. Next, let's try this one, all right? Worried, worried. I was worried about you. What sound do you hear at the end? Write it in the comments. I was worried about you. I don't know why. I just was. Okay? Worried. You should write, for this one, worried. Whoops, sorry. The D sound at the end. Worried. Worried. All right? Next one, let's do one more, and I'll give you guys some tips. How about okay, how about this one right here? Dropped. All right. I dropped the pen. Dropped. What's the sound? Dropped. All right, do you hear the T, the D, or the id? Dropped. Okay. You should, right, for this one, the T sound. Dropped. Okay. Does that make sense? So remember, again, there are 3 rules that you just need to remember. And again, if you're joining us a little late, I'll go over those rules really quickly right now, and then I want to tell you how you guys can do some self-study on your own to continue practicing this. So remember, if the final sound, we need to identify the final sound of the word. If it's voiceless, all right, we're going to add the T, dropped, all right? P is voiceless, p, p, p. So dropped, okay? If it's a voice sound, which means there is vibration in the vocal cords, we're going to add a D sound, okay? L, call, called, all right? And then finally, if the final sound is that T or D sound, then we're going to add an id to it. You can look at those words again. Those are good examples, and they're very common verbs. Wanted, needed, waited, blended, ended. Okay? So those are the rules, and then you just need to internalize the information. And what I mean by that is you really do need to practice on your own, because that is going to help you, all right? You practice on your own, and the more you do that, the more you're listening to it, the more you're saying it, especially correctly, you will internalize that information, because the goal is to not think about these pronunciation rules. The goal is just to speak. And when you're having a conversation, that you're pronouncing these words that end with ed, and you're using the correct pronunciation. So the first way I would say that you guys could practice at home, one easy way is just to listen to it. All right. And you could listen to a story, whether it's a podcast in the simple past or even songs. So for example, here, this website right here, I kind of just did a Google search, and it says 7 songs for teaching past simple. It gives you the song, all right, even tells you some of the verbs that are in the past simple. So this one, expected, all right, closed. And these are all pretty, I think they're common songs. Popular songs, pop music. Not sure what you like to listen to, but these are ways that you can continue to expose yourself to the correct pronunciation, sing along with them. Here's a Katy Perry song, Planned, all right. This is another song. Wow, this is pretty old, from a while back. Torn, but it has a lot of good ones, showed, all right, adored, changed, crawled. Because when you're doing this, you're just listening to it, whether it's music, whether it's TV, whether it's movies. You're receiving the information, all right, and you're listening to it. Here's another song, somebody that I used to know, happened, all right. So this is one way that I would say that you guys can do it, is just listening to a variety of things. Hopefully many of you are already watching a lot of movies in English, TV shows, listening to music. I think subtitles also help. So again, you can try to then identify those ED words with the sounds that you're hearing. And then once you start to internalize it, practice, 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 you'll just start speaking correctly and saying the words correctly without even thinking about it. Another thing that you guys can do is, reading, all right? Read out loud. This is a good way to practice actually speaking and trying to say these words correctly. So I just did, again, Google search for English paragraph, simple past, okay? First one that came up here, stories written in the past tense for ESL learners. All right, these are probably, for some of you, depending on your level, they might be very basic stories, but that's okay, because the goal is to practice the simple past. So what you can do is, if you have a story such as this, They've highlighted some of these verbs, all right? You can then look at the word, think of the rule, think of the pronunciation that you're going to use. Miss, all right? S is voiceless, so it's going to have the T sound. Missed, all right? And then just start reading. I only missed the train by a few minutes. I was annoyed. If I had walked a bit further, again, now we're practicing the T sound. And there's other stories down here below. Again, some of these verbs are irregular, but others are regular verbs in the simple past. Watched. And this is just one source. There's a bunch of different stories that you guys could probably find and come up with that is going to help you practice speaking. When you read out loud, then you are actually saying these words and you're saying them correctly. So that when you're just having that informal conversation, you're not thinking about pronunciation rules, you're just speaking. And because you've internalized all this information, you are saying the words correctly. So those are a couple different exercises and activities that you can do for self-study that will help you perfect this ED pronunciation. And again, this is something that no matter what level you are, that people tend to make sometimes very, very, very simple mistakes. So even if you've already studied this, even if you've already learned these rules, it's still good practice to review so that you don't make mistakes in the future. So again, if you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, please write them in the comments, and we will try to answer your questions. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. You can also check us out on social media. We're pretty active on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. And thank you guys for tuning in. I really had a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Hope you learned something new. And if you did, share it with everybody you know, please. We'll do more of these lessons a little later on, and we'll probably announce them when we'll do it so you guys will have an idea. But again, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.